Hello, everyone. My name is JT Keating. I run strategic initiatives here at Zimperium. I'd like to welcome you to another one of our webinars. Very excited about this webinar. This webinar is covering off on a great research report that was written by the Quadrant Systems team. One of the things I think most people will be very excited about is that you're not going to have to listen to me the whole time. So I'm going to be actually joined by the lead analyst that wrote the report, who's going to be doing the majority of the discussion. Before I dive in and start kind of setting up the framework for everybody, I'd just like to introduce Ayush Patatar. And you can tell me if I'm saying that wrong again, Ayush, because I just know you from your first name. But Ayush, thank you very much for joining us. And we're looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, JT. Thanks for having me today. It's a great opportunity for me also, to present our research findings in the in-app protection market. And I'm very glad to announce that Zimperium has been named as the leader in the in-app protection market for 2023. So yeah, let me quickly go through the agenda, JT. We can move to the next slide.
If I can, I use just real quick to start off with just some housekeeping for folks. By the way, I totally agree with what Ayush was just talking about right there. This is a great report. If you haven't had a chance to read it yet, I strongly suggest that you should. It doesn't just cover Zimperium. It covers a lot of different approaches, trends, et cetera, that Ayush is going to be covering. The standard housekeeping stuff here. The webinar is being recorded. There will be an archived version that'll be put up on the site within a few days or so. And please, we've disabled the chat part of Zoom for this because it gets to be kind of disconcerting and it doesn't always work out real well on a webinar format versus a regular Zoom. But please do put in questions in the Q&A. I'll be kind of trying to monitor those a little bit as best I can. And then if it's something that we'll stop in the context and say, hey, Ayush, somebody asked this question, we'll do it in context. Otherwise, then we'll do it at the tail end of that. We're going to try to keep it to around 30-35 minutes. There'll be some conversation back and forth. Like we were saying at the very beginning, Zimperium is a big believer in sharing information in this market, in the mobile security market, because that's what we do. We secure mobile. So this is intended to be an educational webinar. It's not intended to be a big product pitch or anything like that. So if you're in for a big product pitch, you can send me an email and I'd be more than happy to do that. This is more about the market, about the trends, and a little bit about why Zimperium was named as a leader. So with that, Ayush, I will turn it over to you and I will start with the agenda slide.
Sure. Thanks, JT. So yeah, let me quickly go take you through the agenda of our presentation. So firstly, I'll depict the landscape in the context of the trends related to the market adoption and technology for in-app protection. And after that, I'll portray the key technology differentiators which we have identified this year for in-app protection by analyzing all the vendors which we have included in our Spark matrix. And after that, I'll go through our research process and the Spark matrix which we have made this year for in-app protection. And lastly, we will understand why we have named Zimperium as the leader in this in-app protection market. So before diving into the trends, I just want to highlight some points why this solution is needed here. So basically, I would just go with the growing frequency and the sophistication and the complexity of the cybersecurity attacks which are going on right now. So basically, they are growing more frequent, complex, and the cyber attackers are using advanced techniques like launching AI and ML-based attacks, and they are using bots and many other new forms of the attacks, which are getting launched every single day. And we have to, be on track with these types of attacks, so that we can counter these kind of attacks in this space. And so to protect the application and the data and the organizations are choosing, advanced sophisticated solutions like in-app protection, which ensure the security of the applications and the data which are related to the organization. So these are some of the market adoption trends which we have identified. The first one is, the integrated solution for a holistic and advanced application security. So basically, the vendors which are providing the in-app protection solutions are continuing to enhance their solutions and their value proposition by significantly investing in enhancing their capabilities and providing new prevention methods and integrated solutions to provide a holistic application security portfolio, which Zimperium also provide under the name of MAPS. And there are many vendors, in app protection vendors, which are providing new prevention methods for applications through code level security, and they are implementing automated defenses for suspicious activities, which includes application shutdown, user sandboxing, and code self-repair, and interfere threat actors by disguising source code, which is basically obfuscation, inserting honeypots, and implementing deceptive codes patterns by integrating all these solutions. Also, many leading in-app protection providers are focusing on integrated solutions like web application firewall, bot management capabilities, API security, DDoS, etc., for an holistic application security portfolio. And the leading in-app protection vendors, which are identified in the matrix, are also augmenting their solution capabilities by using AI/ML so that they can analyze application behavior and automate the detection and remediation process, and thus provide robust protection from cyber threats. And as we can see in the past years, the market and the technology is increasingly adopting to cloud-based resources and applications. So because there are numerous benefits of cloud-based resources, and there's less infrastructure, and they don't have to manage on their own the infrastructure. They are provided by the cloud provider. So there are many options for cloud providers, which significantly reduces the cost and ease the processes. So basically, the enterprise which are adopting cloud-based resources for applications and all that, so they can reliance on cloud platform providers, and they present multiple issues for organization as they have to rely on third-party security controls and resilience. And this is driving the adoption of in-app protection solution, as it secures both on-premises and cloud-based application against cyber threats. It also helps the enterprises, the customers which are using these solutions, to gain overview of the behavior and the activities of the applications and any anomalies which are there, and work on that anomalies. The next is basically as the market is moving towards online, so the rise of API economy, which is also driving the in-app protection solutions. So we all know that mobile apps heavily use APIs to interact with backend services and also for sharing information. Therefore, it is extremely essential to ensure API security, and in-app protection solution ensure that only safe mobile apps can call APIs, botnets, and malicious scripts and tempered or fake apps are blocked by these in-app protection solution. And it also, the in-app protection tools also allow developers to integrate high-level security measures, such as implementing strong authentication techniques paired with limited rate of access in their APIs to prevent hackers from harvesting data from API servers. And the next one is, the global complexities of the global regulatory landscape. As we know that the landscape which are there right now, for example, frameworks such as NIST, FISMA, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and others are significantly impacting the overall enterprise security strategies across industry verticals and geographical regions. These norms are totally different as we go across the globe. The European region have a different laws, compliances, and the North America region have different types of compliances. So it is very important for the vendors who are providing this in-app protection solution to comply with all these regulatory norms. So basically, there are GDPR, CCP, and others which are forcing organizations to account for all sensitive data and access is granted to it. Whereas compliance with regulation improves organization security posture, non-compliance can result in a high risk of information theft, fines, negative publicity, and more. Since application stores and processes sensitive data like credential of the users and the PII data, which can then be phished from vulnerable mobile devices. Therefore, in-app protection solution helps the organization, the users, to meet the stringent global compliance standards and avoid and prevent security breaches. And lastly, the usage of mobile devices and the IoT devices. As you know, the market is growing in this form. So there are many kinds of devices which are introduced right now, like IoT devices. For, there are certain medical devices also, and the mobile apps and the mobile cell phones, smartphones, laptops, all kinds of devices. Basically, it also increased the surge of using the in-app protection solutions, basically to protect these devices from all the kind of threats. And enterprises are aggressively adopting mobile application due to various benefits like flexibility, ease of operation, and enhanced customer experience, and many other things. But the increase in the number of mobile apps is also increasing the attack surface, as I've said earlier. Today, some of the mobile threat faced by modern enterprises include like repackaging, malware, script injection, crypto jacking, SMS grabbing, and more. Additionally, the remote work culture, the hybrid work culture also have, significantly increased the risk of, cyber threats. So basically, the software environment serve as the entry point for these threat actors and access sensitive information through unsecured mobile devices. And hence, organizations are realizing the needs for robust application security capabilities. Therefore, the customers are increasingly adopting in-app protection tools to run application in untrusted environments.
I look at this list and, this is a daunting list for people that are having to, to deal with all of this. But a couple, thoughts for me, for instance, when you're talking about the increasing number of attacks, for those folks that haven't seen it, and Allison, maybe if you could drop the link in, Zimperium put out our annual global mobile threat report last week. That's also another great read, and it's covering off on a lot of stuff that Ayush is talking about here, including, for instance, when you go down to the second bullet there about cloud-based resources, it talks about the percentage of mobile apps that are actually using unsecured cloud storage, where information is in plain text, including credit card information, health data, things on those lines. So it is this whole list. And as you talk about the increased use of mobile and IoT, we here at Zimperium, we keep talking about mobile powered business is here to stay. And those mobile powered business initiatives are like what you were talking about, Ayush. Some of them are employee facing, like remote work, BYOD. Some of them are customer facing. And then, yes, there's like mobile banking is just a standard now. And we also have customers, as you were talking about, that are protecting medical devices where it's insulin pumps that are the mobile app is controlling that. Clearly need to protect that. Cars, automotive cars, so it's just exploding across the board here. So really, really good information and stuff that people need to kind of tackle. And I know then you kind of go from there to a couple of the key technology trends, right?
Yes, absolutely, JT, you are right. So basically, we at Quadrant, we have identified some key technological trends which are going right now in the market, or the market in which the technology is heading right now. So we have identified a couple of technology trends. So basically, the providers, the in-app protection providers and the application security providers are focusing right now on zero code injection, which is basically nothing but it employs a runtime application self-protection RASP to detect unauthorized changes during the application runtime. And it utilizes various techniques, which include signature-based and anomaly-based detection, and as well as the behavior analysis of the user and the application and how the application is running. And these techniques are active during the runtime of the application, and it prevents the application from reverse engineering and code tampering also. And the other trend which we have identified is the code polymorphism technique, which we have identified in this year, the vendors which are providing right now, which are focused the vendors which are focusing on this new trend and complying to it in the future. Basically, it modifies the application code at each compilation stage, and which results in different outputs without altering the source code. And it serves as a very powerful and a unique tool which significantly increase the complexity of the reverse engineering process. Basically, basically, all the attackers and all the hackers which are, trying to attack and infringe the application. Basically, they try to reverse engineer the code, and this is the most common and the most common threat which application can face. So these are the trends which are, right now, which are focusing on, to prevent the reverse engineering attacks and the code code tampering from the attackers. So basically, did you have to add something in this?
No, I'll wait. And when I kind of chat about our solution, I'll hit on some of your key trends and maybe even some points on this. So no, it's excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So now we will move on to, get a keen understanding of the differentiators which we provide in our report also, and which should get the proper insight, given that how the in-app protection solution is standing in this particular markets and how the vendors are offering these differentiators with their solutions. So the first is the sophistication of technology capabilities. Basically, it is, the solution and the vendors should provide an end-to-end capabilities to provide to protect mobile apps through their entire life cycle, from development to the runtime. And the second one is, it should protect against various advanced threats such as malware and code injection, screen scraping, and application cloning, and obviously reverse engineering, which is a very prominent threat for the applications. And one thing which I have identified is, vendors should differ in their support of wide range of authentication options for the applications, for the users which are running right now, such as, behavioral biometrics and the OTPs, facial recognition, fingerprints, authentication, e-signatures, and many others. And, many vendors which we have identified in our Spark matrix are moving in this direction, or some have achieved this kind of differentiation strategy for their product, but it is going on right now. And the second one is, maturity of AI and ML technology. As we all know that the AI and machine learning are the new trend from the past years, and the companies and the organization, vendors, the solution providers, and the customers are aggressively working on these capabilities and implementing machine learning and AI into their solution and into their product. So it is an important differentiator, as well as we all know that AI ML is still on the emerging stage, or with a lot of innovation happening around these technology. So the end user should carefully look into the vendors which are complying to the roadmap on how they are planning to incorporate innovations happening around AI and ML. And the vendors should plan to provide embedded AI and machine learning capabilities, which may differ significantly based on the product and the vendors which are providing that product. And many leading vendors are using AI ML technology to enable advanced network analytics, user analytics, and threat intelligence to automate the mitigation process and improve the effectiveness of the application protection. Therefore, it is advised that the user should look at the vendors offering for AI ML for detection threat patterns, comprehensive risk analysis, and responding to the threat in real time, and thus securing users' application. And the next one is the scalability. So basically, the in-app protection vendors which are must provide protection even during the traffic surges to ensure 24/7 availability, and then the solution must be capable of protecting any type of application, be it mobile apps and desktop apps, web apps, or apps for connected devices. Many use cases. There are many use cases which are going around right now for this application protection, and the solution must also support for AI API security and security for serverless application. And the product should also be able to scale with the business to provide continuous protection against the increasing frequency and magnitude of the threats which are currently going on right now. And users should also look for the vendors with a history of successful large-scale deployment and carefully analyze the existing case studies of those deployments. And the last one is integration and interoperability. Basically, it should provide the seamless integration and interoperability with vendors with vendors, and the existing technologies are amongst the crucial factor impacting the technology deployment and ownership experience. And the next is basically the platform or the solution should offer a fully automated integration with the user's application development of CI and CD tools to provide comprehensive protection to application throughout the application lifecycle, which is basically a must thing which is needed. And users should also look for integration with backend security platforms, which includes key API gateways, cloud native API gateways, WAF, and other complementary solution, as well as the backend development frameworks. And the vendor should also provide, and the user should also look for simple integration with the platforms like Android and iOS, and as well as the cross-platform development environment, and provide a common authorization technique to be used for both the web and the mobile API channel. Yeah, JT.
Yeah, no, that is great, Ayush. I definitely appreciate it. So folks, I told you this isn't a product presentation, but the next part that Ayush is going to talk about is the selection criteria, how they actually just discover or weight different answers across different metrics or axes. And then why Zimperium was named a leader. So we thought it would help to at least frame it up for people a little bit in terms of what Zimperium's solution is in this market. Ayush has mentioned the MAPS acronym that stands for Mobile App Protection Suite. Zimperium is the only company that has a complete suite that protects mobile apps from risks in development, then when you put it in the App Store, and then when it's running on my mom's iPhone. And so these different buckets, Zscan is our product that will scan the code. To Ayush's point, it is directly tied into ticketing tools and CI/CD process. It'll determine if there's any security or privacy risks in those apps. For instance, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, that 2%, for instance, of Android apps are actually accessing unsecured cloud storage. You would know that through Zscan, right? You would know if the apps are violating, when you put an SDK into your app, is it potentially violating some of the regulatory policies that Ayush was talking about? So that's Zscan. So you can find out risks before you even put it out in the market. Then you've got, I usually go Z-Shield next, because the next logical thing is one of the biggest differences of mobile apps compared to traditional apps is you hand the app to the bad guys. You take your app, you package it up, you put it in a public app store where the first people to download are the bad guys. So you need to obfuscate the code. As Ayush was talking about, you need to scramble the code up without messing with the original source code, so that reverse engineering becomes much more complicated, much more difficult to do. That's what Z-Shield does. Z-Keybox protects your keys. So ensuring that even if somebody was able to somehow, crack the code and get into your app, that the keys would be gobbled up, just like the code should be gobbled up with Z-Shield. And then finally, when Ayush was talking about RASP, again, one of the biggest problems is, in mobile versus web, we run our code on our servers inside our firewalls, we're protecting. In mobile, you put it on my mom's iPhone, and she refuses to upgrade it because it's going to slow down Angry Birds. She will connect to any Wi-Fi network, mostly bad sometimes. She'll install malware on accident. So you need the ability to have your apps be self-protecting, and that's Z-Defend. Back to Ayush's point, I believe that BMW is an engine company and not a car company. They produce a bunch of engines, and they put it in different things. Zimperium has solutions to protect employees, what's called mobile threat management by Ayush and the analyst at Quadrant. And that's where it's running 100% of the time. It's like EPP EDR, but for mobile, right? But then that same engine is what is inside Z-Defend, so it can help apps, realize what's going on. So for instance, we have a very large banking customer, and that large banking customer, the first month they rolled it out, where they had self-awareness of how bad the devices were that were doing mobile banking on their platform, they said that we gave visibility into potential $1 billion of at-risk accounts. Now, that's not $1 billion of fraud, it's at-risk accounts. But you need this self-awareness, and we have it in an integrated platform. This integrated platform is also part of our overall mobile first security platform, because a lot of our customers wanted visibility on the endpoint side and on the app side. So it's all part of our framework. But briefly, some of the differentiators of MAPS, we talked about protection against known and unknown threats. As Ayush was talking about, it is machine learning based, so it can detect unknown threats, zero-day threats, as well as known. We can actually, because of the way that our engine works, you can actually update security without even having to release a new version of your app. So we can do over-the-air updates to be able to go out. That centralized visibility into all risks and threats across the entire life cycle is a huge differentiator for us. Again, this thing has been designed down to be super small, no impact on size of the app or performance. Wasn't always the case, but we've done a lot of work to get it there. And then integrating the security into the app lifecycle, whether it's the CI/CD part or others, including fraud systems, et cetera, all via API. So it's a comprehensive platform with ML at its core, and the ability to provide this protection across the board without impacting size, performance, and frankly, without impacting development lifecycle speed either, which is another key part. If you have the great security, but you're slowing down development speed, you're going to have problems. So that's just a quick frame on Zimperium's MAPS solution. And then I'll turn it, Ayush, back over to you to talk about the matrix and why you named Zimperium a leader, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure, JD, absolutely. The points which you have covered, I'll also cover in the last slide, why is Zimperium as named as a leader. So basically, before we move to the Spark matrix, I'll just have to briefly explain the competitive assessment criteria which Quadrant Knowledge Solution follows. So basically, the Quadrant Knowledge Solution has a proprietary tool for competition analysis and ranking, which is called Spark Matrix and stands for Strategic Performance Assessment and Ranking. And we conduct in-depth analysis of the major vendors by evaluating their product portfolio, market presence, and value proposition. And these two parameters that we use for ranking the vendors are the technology excellence and the customer impact. Basically, we focus more on the technology and the customer part to rank our vendors. We keep it simple from our competitors. And we have an extensive research process which we conduct which includes the briefing sessions with the vendors who are participating in the research, and we ask for the questionnaire, the request for information RFI, which have a set of questions which gives us the fair idea about the company, the product, the presence, and the customer impact, all of this. And apart from that, we also circulate the customer feedback survey form, which we ask the vendors to circulate it to their customers, and based on that we evaluate our Spark matrix. And basically, based on our primary interaction and the secondary research and our own understanding and analysis, we rank the vendors. So basically, these are the parameters which we include in the technology excellence, like sophistication of technology and the competitive differentiation strategy, application diversity, scalability, integration, and interoperability, vision and roadmap, basically, which I have explained in the previous slide about what are the differentiators which we include, which we analyze for the technology excellence, and the sophistication of technology, what is the product and how the product is performing and how it is going on in the market based on the demos and the briefings which we had with the vendors, and the application diversity part that which caters how many industries and what are the updates and how these parameters caters to the specific use cases for that particular solution, and the scalability part, integration, and vision and roadmap. And for the customer impact part, we have product strategy and performance, the market presence, proven record, ease of deployment and use, customer service excellence, and unique value proposition. So for product strategy and performance, we analyze how the product is performing in the market, how the strategy is going on from the vendors, how they are marketing the product in the market. And the second is the market presence. Basically, we do a research globally. We include all the vendors which are globally. So what is the market presence, and what are the key areas, what are the key regions in which the company is performing, the company is present, and the channel partners, and many more things which comes under this customer impact criteria. And the third one is the proven record. Proven record, basically we understand the use cases which they are providing for that particular solution for in-app protection, and if there are any customer specific use cases or industry specific use cases which require some customization and all, if they caters to that, if they provide in the market. So basically these are the parameters which we take for analysis of the Spark matrix. So, and ease of deployment, it is the name itself. You can understand the ease of deployment and the use, how the solution for in this case, how the in-app protection tool is integrating with the traditional systems, and how it is used, and the user experience, how the solution is easy to use, and what is the user experience, how it is easy for the users, and the customer service excellence, post implementation and the pre-implementation services, and the support which the company provides, and unique value proposition, which includes which can include for how they are going into the market, how they are pitching their product, and how are there any they are complying to the market trends, or they are going to create a new trend. Basically all these kind of things. It is a very extensive part of the research, so I have explained it briefly here. So JT, we can move to the next slide.
Yeah, and without being too loquacious, I would like to just say two things about this whole process. One is I've been extremely impressed with the Quadrant folks in their research methodology, including even doing postmortems after each report comes out of, hey, what do you think worked well? What did not work well? Are there things you think, felt like they needed to be tightened up? So I always give credit for people to do that. The other part is, the thing I really, really like about the Spark matrix. I mean, I like the technology excellence part, I really do. But the part I think is really unique for the matrix is the customer impact piece. The fact that the Quadrant takes a decent amount of time to really kind of hear from the customers, to get a kind of a real kind of man on the street, kind of feedback, as opposed to just listening to the vendors, I think is really a differentiator in their solution. So just for what it's worth, I think that customer impact part is very, very valuable from a consideration, because it's basically the peers of the people that are on this call that are saying, hey, we've already been through some of this stuff. What do we think? And so I think that peer feedback is extremely valuable. So just kudos to Quadrant for that methodology.
Thanks, JT. So basically, this is the vendor analysis and the competitive positioning, our proprietary product Spark Matrix, which we have recently, put it out for in-app protection. So we have analyzed, 15 global vendors, as you can look here. We have analyzed 15 global vendors which are offering in-app protection solution, and we have categorized them into 3 categories. First is aspirants, second is strong contenders, and the third is the technology leaders. And based on their technology capabilities and the customer impact, we have ranked them in the Spark matrix. And the section highlighted in the blue is the hat of the technology leaders, and Zimperium has been identified and positioned as the leader in our Spark matrix in both technology excellence and customer impact. So yeah, JD, do you have to say something in this?
No, other than thank you for recognizing that in terms of our team, our customer success, as well as our technology. We're very honored to do that. Would you like me to go to the next slide so you can kind of explain some of the whys?
Sure, JD. So yeah, as JT already explained in the previous slides, the differentiators about Zimperium, the MAPS mobile application protection suite. So the analysis which Quadrant has done, why we have chosen Zimperium as a leader in the Spark matrix is, the MAPS, which offers, a comprehensive and a unified platform to secure all the mobile apps from development through runtime. And it provides end-to-end protection for mobile apps from deployment to development, and it has various modules like which JT has already explained. I'll like Zscan, Keybox, Zshield, and Zdefense, and that protect application from various type of threats, holistic protection for the applications. And it also offers app scanning, app shielding, runtime protection, and the protection of sensitive cryptographic keys in one unified platform. And this maps also provide an integrated threat management dashboard that offers the real-time threat visibility and ensures users, the customers, to respond to those emerging threats and attacks, proactively, and before they can harm the system or the application. And Zimperium, as we have Zimperium, has a strong presence in globally in the US, in the Europe, and followed by Middle East and Africa, Asia Pacific region, as we have gone through the customer testimonials and the interaction with the customers and the end users which are using Zimperium product. And so basically, these are the parameters, which we have highlighted, which you have identified, which makes Zimperium as a leader in our Spark Matrix and App Protection 2023. So,
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ayush. And, I think one of the things that's kind of interesting, just for those folks that might be kind of wondering, when we talk about the multi-platform support, for instance, you see desktop and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. Specifically around our code protection and key protection. That's where a lot of that strength comes in. So we do mobile, that's what we're focused on, but the technology we have for code protection and key protection, for instance, can be used even in other venues as well. But I definitely appreciate that, Ayush. This has been fantastic. I'm going to leave this slide up for a second. Actually, I'll probably leave it up until we're done. So if people want more information about Quadrant systems themselves, Quadrant solutions, then they can get that information right there. And you can also get more information from Zimperium. And then, folks, what I'd love to do is there's a few questions that have come in. So if you have other questions, please feel free to drop them in. And then the one question we do have right now, Ayush, and so if we have a couple questions, we'll go through them. Otherwise, we'll give people some time back in their day. So we'll go through some questions and then see if there's any last comment you'd like to make, and then I'll wrap things up. So the one question we have is, and it was on the, matter of fact, I'll just go back to it because I can. There we go. So is there a split 50-50 for technology and customers in terms of calculating the final score for vendors?
So yeah, there is a 50-50 split for technology and customers. And the thing is, while analyzing the vendors for this particular for the Spark Matrix, we have an equal focus on both the technology excellence and the customer impact. But we are slightly heavier on the technology side, for the technology excellence side, because it comprises of all the product details and the parameters which I have mentioned, like sophistication of technology, which includes various capabilities and the features which that product have to offer, and the competitive differentiation strategy, which may include which may include anything like how they are complying to the new trends, how they are moving towards the new trends, and are they moving along with the market right now in terms of technology. And other than that, we have integration, interoperability. So we are slightly heavier on the technology excellence side and rather than customer impact side. But customer impact also plays a very important role in positioning this in positioning the vendors in the Spark Matrix. So I would say it is a 50-50. 50% of customer impact and 50% of technology excellence, and based on that we rank them and we get the score for the final positioning.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ayush, any last thoughts? And again, fantastic report. And a lot of really, really good information. People can grab it off our site if you haven't read it already. And I know that Allison had already dropped it in the chat. If anybody wanted to take a look at that. But any last kind of comments, or maybe did you see any changes as you've been doing this over the last few years? You've talked about some of the trends, but any last kind of wrap up thoughts before we go? Because we don't have any other questions coming in.
So GT, any last thoughts? I would say, as compared to last year to this year, while we were, doing this research, we have cut down some vendors from the last years as compared to this year. Last year we were having 18 vendors, and now we have 15 vendors. So based on the trend with the technology and the product and the solution, which may vary from vendor to vendor, we have identified these vendors, and we have covered all the major global vendors in the NAP protection solution, and we have identified all these kind of trends, and based on that we have identified Zimperium as a leader, and based on the trends and technology and the interactions and all the research processes which we have gone through, all the vendors which are included in this Spark matrix. So we have identified Zimperium because of its unique solution, and because of the unique solution which they provide a holistic solution in one single platform for all the mobile apps. So basically, this is, I just wanted to say at last.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Ayush. And everybody, thank you for your time. Hopefully this has been productive for you. Once again, there'll be a recorded version of the webinar up on our site within a couple of days if you want to come back to it or share it with a friend. And with that, I would just like to thank you, Ayush, again for joining me and running through this great information. And with that, we will wish everybody a great day. Thank you guys very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, JD. Have a nice day. Great.